flight boss, bitch. For sure. You're now listening to the Mind of an Terry's Moon. I am the Royal Archangel Uriel, and I'm here to carry out God duties and motherfucking responsibilities. And this video right here is going to be about understanding the elements because it's important. Because this is one of the first tools beyond geomancy, cryptography, astrology, astronomy, math, science, and all of the things that we utilize to be an alchemist. To understand each perspective, these shifts get created based upon the elements that we call fire, water, air, and earth. So, for the most part, fire represents vision. Anytime you are able to have a vision inside, visualize, and visualize something, for the most part, that's your inner vision. That's your inner fire, your inner yang, and things of that nature. Now, anytime you connect with a vision, you develop a feeling, an emotion from that vision, which sparks a feeling that accumulates like a cloud to condense and becomes water. So for the most part, when you have a vision, fire, and connect with it, it becomes water. Now, for the most part, as a spirit, when you do that cycle over and over again, you experience the craft of how you did that form, the micro version of it. So you experience the lighter version of the heavier form, or at least the craft of how you made that form in the first place, whether we're dealing with any time frame of micro and macro. So then for the most part, being inside that cycle, that cycle that you're creating, fire, water, evaporation, you get to experience being inside of it as a spirit, separating yourself from other spaces / spirits to become an individual spirit, which we call as a soul. A solo spirit, a spirit, point of reference from the first time. And being inside your own halo, your own mind, fire and water, desire, fire, and you consoling in it, connection, water, you experiencing the small craft within inside of that, which is the air, logic, squaring out the circle, being able to understand your parameter that you created from nothing, which is something, and that would be the fire and water, and you being inside of it, witnessing how you created that in the first place. And then that's you witnessing the air, logic, intellect, communication, you being able to communicate with yourself, your desire, your thought, your feeling, your fire, your water, your vision, your connection, to be able to interpret that. That's air, the transition of it. Then your ability to shape and mold that, practicalize that, make it make sense, ground it. That's actually making it look like something before it becomes physical. That's the earth element from a metaphysical, esoteric perspective. So when you understand it from this perspective, this helps you understand how you can utilize these things from being an alchemist. And when you become a person who know how to utilize alchemy, you can utilize the metaphysics and utilize the physical as a representation of how these things got created from the inside out. So when you see how earth works, you're able to structure your earth element within your mind in that magnitude in order to not do it in a negative way and a structure in a positive way. So earth, it's slow before it expires or transition. So that's a correspondence to a mental concept when you're thinking about grounding and practicality, to use patience with that. Earth takes time to shape and mold and form, but it has to look like something to uphold something else, or it would be shaky grounds. So with your earth metaphysical element, your thought forms have to be grounded. Your thought forms have to be structured. It has to actually make sense. So for the most part, before you express anything, make sure it has the earth quality to it. Water. Water is fluid. Water takes the shape and form of the object that it created out of it. So whatever got molded and take the shape and form out of it, the water is going to take the nature of that form because the water created it. So the water deals with creation, but also deals with making mistakes when it makes deformed forms. So a lot of times, having emotional structure or emotional intelligence will allow you to connect with the right things. So understanding the way something is formed, understanding the volume of something will allow you to have emotional intelligence so you can be or have a heads up on how much you're going to get impacted or influenced by something. And therefore, this allows you to connect with the right things and separate and let your water go into another direction when it's not time to connect with things that's negative. Fire. Fire is in a perspective of melting things, making things hot, making something melt so a new shape and form can be made out of it, evaporating something, making the air, the logic, have a temperature or color to it. So you know when you're utilizing fire, when you need to participate in forms of separation, mentally separating from an idea, that's utilizing fire, or creating new ideas, which is creating fire in a new area, right? So a lot of times you could get lost in visions that may not be good for you. So this is how your spirit could be lost in a fire, a desire. And you understanding fire don't have a shape, and it burns anything it's around, or it could be hot towards anything that's around it, but in a distance that it won't burn. Then for the most part, this allows you to understand that when you're in a situation, right, you have to not have no form, aka mentally speaking, from an esoteric perspective of fire. Sometimes it's important not to conform when it comes to structures. When someone else trying to make something make sense, that may not make sense, and you might have to melt that earth or evaporate what someone care about or what you care about, water, or have to create a little heat in that air so things don't be cold or just blowing in the wind, right? The heat means the communication have to be a little hot in order for we can have a transformation in whatever context we're directing this energy towards. So that lets you have understanding how to be an alchemist when it comes to fire. Air. Now air puts you in a situation where it could be cold, it could be moving, it could be shapeless, but it can also take the shape of the environment, which is earth. It can also take the warmth or take the temperature of the heat, which is fire. And it can also be just as shapeless and go with the flow, like the water. So if fire represents future, water represents past, earth represents the present, then earth will be future, past, and present as a form of a thought to be able to analyze that. So that's what make air in between the water and fire. And then the water and fire make structures of earth after the air shapes it. But then air helps us understand how we made that transition. Fire was potential for the future, us creating a vision. Water, what could become the past after we created what could become the future, aka fire. Now water, it could become the past, but within that process, we create a presence, which is an energy that condenses as earth and becomes a present, or it could become you being in the present. And you analyzing that is the air. You being able to analyze the present and how you created the present by creating a vision that once upon a time was the future, that then became the past, fire becoming water, cloud becoming goddamn water condensed, and you being able to, and then it having a shape and form, earth, and you being able to create that shape and form by the transition of air becoming earth. But after earth is created, the shape and form itself, metaphysical or physical, air is able to analyze the earth present to be able to understand the fire future and the water present. So this is how we speak, water past. So this is how we speak prophecy, you know what I'm saying, based upon how you're structuring your mind, being an alchemist. And I love y'all from the bottom of my heart.